You wake up before the sun, in the dark, to the sound of nothing at all. No river, no city, no crowd. Just wind, and somewhere close, a donkey shifting its weight. You are on a mud brick sleeping platform in a small house in a small village, and the village is in the middle of the desert, behind a wall, a long walk from the nearest water. Someone lit a small oil lamp. By its light you can see paint under your own fingernails. Red, yellow, black, that no amount of washing ever fully takes out. It is around 1250 BC in the reign of the great Pharaoh Ramesses, and you have one of the strangest, most secret jobs in the entire kingdom. You build tombs, not just any tombs, the tombs of the pharaohs themselves, cut deep into the rock of a hidden valley over the hill, decorated with the sacred paintings that are meant to carry a god-king safely into the afterlife. It is holy work, and it is secret work, and the village you have woken up in exists for one reason only: to house the people who do it. Here is the part that will surprise you most, and we'll get to it properly. You are not a slave. Almost nothing you have been told about who built these places is true. Come outside. The village is called in our time Deir el-Medina, and it is tiny, a single-walled rectangle of about 70 houses, packed along one narrow main street, with the desert hills rising on every side. Everyone here does the same work, or is married to someone who does. It is a company town, 3,000 years before anyone invents the phrase. The houses are narrow and deep, shared walls, flat roofs to sleep on when the nights are hot. There is no well. The village sits on dry rock, so water is one of the great facts of life here. It is carried in every day by donkey from the river valley and poured into a communal tank. The state provides it, along with almost everything else, because these workers are too valuable to leave to fend for themselves. Bread is being baked. Children are being pointed toward the small village school because, and this is remarkable for the ancient world, a lot of people here can read and write. They have to be able to. You cannot paint a wall of sacred text if you cannot read it. The men are gathering now with their tools and their lamps at the edge of the village. It's time to walk to work, and the walk is part of the strangeness. You leave the village and climb a steep path up over the mountain, a line of men with lamps and copper chisels, and the sun comes up over the desert behind you. On the other side, hidden in the folds of the rock so that no one will ever find it, is the reason you exist: the Valley of the Kings. The tomb you are working in goes deep into the mountain, a long descending corridor, then chambers, all of it to be cut, smoothed, plastered, and covered floor to ceiling and painted spells and gods and stars. You work by the light of small oil lamps with a measured wick, and the salt from the wick is counted, because everything here is counted. You are one of a crew, split into two gangs, literally called the left side and the right side, like the crew of a ship, with a foreman over each. Some men cut the rock, some smooth the plaster, and some, the ones with the steadiest hands and the paint permanently under their nails, draw and paint the walls that a pharaoh will spend eternity looking at. It is dark and hot, and the air is thick, and you are making something that is meant to last forever and to be seen by almost no one. And for this, you are paid. Which brings us to the thing everyone gets wrong. Say it plainly, because it is one of the most misunderstood facts in all of history. The pyramids and the royal tombs of Egypt were not built by slaves, not by whip-driven crowds of the enslaved. They were built by people like the ones around you, skilled, organized, state-employed workers who were housed, fed, and paid. You are paid in what a world without coins pays in: rations, grain, wheat and barley, delivered on a schedule, enough to feed a family and then some, plus fish, vegetables, oil, and beer, especially beer. You have a rest day roughly every 10 days, and in practice many more, because the records show men taking days off for all the reasons humans take days off: illness, family, a festival, brewing beer, or simply, it is written down, being lazy. There is even sick leave. There are village doctors. There is, when the system fails, the ultimate proof of what these workers were. In the reign of Rameses III, the grain rations arrived late. So the men of this village stopped work, marched to the temples, and sat down until they were paid. It is the first recorded labor strike in human history, and it was carried out by the people the movies told you were slaves. You are not property. You are a craftsman with a skill the kingdom cannot do without, and you know it. Here is why we know all of this. Why we can stand inside your ordinary day at all, 3,000 years later. This village could write, and this village wrote down everything, not on precious papyrus, on ostraca, broken bits of pottery and flat flakes of limestone, thousands of them thrown away and preserved by the dry desert. Work attendance, who was absent and why. Lawsuits, loans, complaints, love poems, a workman accusing another of stealing tools, a woman running a small business, gossip about who was seen with whose wife, the pettiest, most human record of daily life that survives from anywhere in the ancient world. And it is all here, in the trash heap of your village. There is a court right here, run by the workmen themselves, that settles disputes over unpaid debts and broken promises. And on the hillside above the houses, the workers are building tombs, beautiful, painted, miniature versions of the royal ones, for themselves. Because the people who spent their lives preparing pharaohs for eternity fully intended to make the journey too, in style, with the same gods on their own walls. The light is going gold on the hills. The gangs are coming back over the mountain. Time to go home. Home is narrow and cool and dim, and dinner is what the rations make. Flatbread, onions, fish, maybe lentils and beer. Thick, mildly alcoholic, closer to a food than a drink, and everyone drinks it, including the children, because it is safer than the water and full of calories. On a little shrine in the front room are the gods of ordinary people. Not the grand state gods, but the ones who actually matter in a house. Bes, the cheerful dwarf god who protects sleeping children and women giving birth. And Meretseger, she who loves silence. The cobra goddess of the very peak that towers over the valley where you work. You leave her an offering. You work in her mountain. It seems wise to stay on her good side. After dark, someone might write a letter, or a poem, or a note about who owes whom a sack of grain. The desert cools fast. The roof is for sleeping, and tomorrow you climb the hill again. The stars come out over the desert the way they only do where there is no city for 1,000 miles, and the village goes quiet. Over the mountain in the dark, the unfinished tomb waits, its painted gods half drawn, its corridors silent, holding the work of your hands. These villages did their work for 400 years, and then, when the age of the great royal tombs finally ended, the reason for the village ended with it. The families drifted away. The house is emptied. The desert moved back in and buried the whole place. The street, the court, the tombs, and the enormous heap of broken pottery where you all threw your daily notes. And that rubbish heap is exactly why you are not forgotten. Empires leave us temples and kings. Your village left us something rarer, the actual voice of ordinary working people, their pay disputes and sick days and love poems and complaints. Reaching across 3,200 years, from a walled village in the desert to tonight. You were there for one ordinary day of it, and unlike almost everyone who has ever lived, somebody wrote it down. Next week, we wake up somewhere else entirely. Tell me in the comments, what surprised you more, that they were paid, that they went on strike, or that we know their gossip? And where should we open our eyes next? I read every one. Sleep on the roof tonight? Watch the stars. The mountain is watching you back.